change. And what are we going to do about that? Do we need to, can we as a species adapt to change, or do we have to make changes in the way that we're operating at the present time? Cool. And just some visual representations here that we could look at as far as business is concerned. So there's a whole range of things that are going on. This guy on the right-hand side, BP had the oil well off the Gulf of Mexico, and really, a lot of people are saying, well, they're just crapping on the world.
How quiet has that gone?
Sorry?
How quiet has that gone? When Exxon happened years ago, it went on for years and years. We heard about it, but this is just 1 month. It's dropped. The bottom's dropped out of it. No one talks about it anymore because we're so used to things.
There's a lot of that. I think this is quite a nice one here. According to the report, climate change may cause serious flooding. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And of course, the bridge is flooded. And again, it's that whole problem solving. It's looking at the future. When we destroy something created by man, we call it vandalism. When we destroy something by nature, we call it progress. And there's something in that. I'm not saying it's totally right, but there's something in there. There's no food anywhere. Well, sorry, kid, that was the cost of doing business. And who was the guy that chopped down the last tree on Easter Island? Where is he now? And I think this is, there's a real problem at the present time with populations of bees dying. And as Einstein suggested there, if the bee disappears from the surface of the Earth, man would have no more than 4 years to live. We can't pollinate like bees, insects, and other parts of nature can pollinate.
In China, what they've done is they get thousands of people out with little feathers and they actually hand pollinate. So it can be done, but it's much more difficult.
Indeed.
How much is the hourly rate?
And the one on the far right, Wall Street demonstrators jailed for protesting, and the bankers jailed for their destroying the world economy. Thanks. So, and often the word is, it's just too hard. I just can't get my head around it. And it's true. It's a big issue, and it confounds me. And but reality is it's not. If you break it down, you break it down, you break it down. What actions can I take? So it won't happen overnight, but it can happen. Next one. And there are a lot of things that are going on there. They're not perfect, but there are changes that are out there. If you look at Unilever's a giant $100 billion global corporation, and the current chairman has a big push, a huge push, on getting sustainability into their situations, and it makes refreshing reading to see what they're trying to do. They're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they're heading in a direction which is better than they were 15, 20 years ago. Interface Carpets is a wonderful example where the guy who owned the business, one of his staff members said, well, what are you doing about the environment? He made artificial carpet squares. And he said, well, I don't know. So he teamed up with all these people who were renowned for the environment and so on, totally transformed his business, transformed his business model. He created a business that was more profitable, more sales, and values driven. CFCs, the world turned around in the 80s and said, well, we've got to get rid of chlorofluorocarbons because they're destroying the ozone layer. And people said, well, we can't do anything about it. We can't change it. It's the only thing we can put in these products. Hello. 3 months later, they came up with products which were acceptable. They're not the greatest, but they're certainly better than what was. There's things happening with palm oil. There's things happening with old growth forests. Norway spends $500-600 million and gives it to Ecuador to help save their forests, hold their forests. They're taking responsibility for that. The sweatshops and child labour, they're things that are being done around the place. It's not perfect, but things are being done. And you look at the work that the Indian lady Vandana Shiva does in the Green Revolution and against Monsanto is just remarkable, and she's one person. And we're finding that the economic society, not just the economy B, but the economic society B is rising. People are making choices and they're doing things differently. And we're hearing about groups called cultural creatives where people are interested in the environment, they're interested in alternative things. And that represents somewhere around about 25% of the global or the Western population. Next one. So it can happen. These things that are going on allows companies to create competitive advantage. They're not going to go away, but they're making change which are consumer driven. And it's recognised in the consumer acknowledgement. So when you make your decisions, when you buy your goods, you're making decisions that companies are going to act on. And there is a merging that's coming on between economies and the social side of things as well. People are recognising that it's not just the economy that's driving my business. I have to be socially responsible in many ways to get that custom. There are values propositions that are being driven. It's not happening all the way, but it is starting to occur. Shareholders need to take more responsibility for the fact that they are owners at the end of the day of the companies. And if you have a problem with some of the things that your company is doing, then write to them. You have access easily available to you through the computer. I write to Coles on a weekly basis at this point in time and argue with them about some of the values that they're putting out there in terms of what their PR machine says and what the reality is. And
the one where blowing the trumpet, the Uniting Church is disengaged from all those
that's right.
carbon-based industries.
Yep.
There's a whole lot of controversy. Not as much as I thought there would be, actually. Interesting. And I said to the person who drove that change, he actually goes to the neighbouring congregation up here, Paddington. I said to him, what's the thing with Australia? He said, no, he's never said anything. In fact, some of them were quite in favour of it because it's distorted the economy around Singleton, where everything is so dear. The ordinary person in Singleton can no longer sort of live there. But you can drive these sort of change through institutions. There might be a union or some other organisation you're in. You can drive that change as well. So and that's important symbolic things. I don't think the United Church Holdings will bring the carbon-based industry down to their needs, but it's a symbolic thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a choice that people have made, and you see it in the superannuation funds that are out there as well. It was interesting. Last week there was a big hue and cry about Telstra's superannuation fund, who spent $30,000 taking some senior executives to the football in a box, and the point was, well, why are you doing that? That's our money. It's not your money. It's not to be frivolously thrown away. And there's some merit in that discussion. And social and government change. I mean, we need to be at the forefront of asking what we want out there.
It's hard to get government change. Just today, Rudd, of course, dropped the carbon tax. Of course, as anyone knows, tax something you'll change to habit. Why they tax the hell out of cigarettes. You go to France, for instance, they don't tax the hell out of cigarettes, and every second person's smoking. In Australia, I keep telling the French people, hardly anyone smokes in Australia. Too expensive for a start. But it's the power of these huge companies and their propaganda that it's a real struggle.
The mindset of the French population, if you try to stop it over there, there'd probably be a revolution, just like it would be in Greece and a few other countries where they love smoking. And I've spoken to people over there about it, and they're almost being lynched. What do you mean stop smoking?
Well, who would have thought that who would have thought that they'd stop smoking in pubs in Australia?
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
in Ireland, but
yeah.
in France and a few other places in Europe, you have to take a slow to do it. But
Yeah, maybe. And I think that's, it is those starting points that we need to recognise.
It's a battle you're against some of these big companies, and I don't want to put it down on it.
No.
You've got to be realistic.
Yep.
The mining industry emptied out their 5-cent coins, basically, and said, we'll run a campaign and we'll get rid of the price. Wish I did. I mean, the Messiah come back for his second coming, but still they got rid of him that time with their little 5 cents. That's all they comparatively was for that. I think it was a $20 million campaign or something, and it was worth
Like to get rid of
billions.
a lot more money John the Valley gets to spend 20 million because it works so quickly.
Yeah, so it's a real battle, and the failure of Copenhagen, which was the beginning of it all. But I'm not saying that it can't happen. There are examples of it happening from little things, big things grow on the side of the chapel here.
Yep.
But we've got to be really committed to make it happen.
I've got something.
Certainly.
I was with Elaine today who owned a farm in the Hunter Valley, and it was a biodynamic farm, and she had olives, and she used to run workshops there. And anyway, now there's coal seam gas that's going underneath that plant, and there was a big ad in the Sydney Morning Herald saying that how the coal seam gas is not affecting these olive trees and how wonderful they are. And she said, this is just absolutely rubbish. The reason why they're so good is because of all the help that we've put into them. They won't stay healthy for long. And I said, well, you own that farm. I said, why don't you write a letter into the newspaper or into Column 8 and say what you know? And she goes, oh, no, it's too hard. And she wouldn't do it. And I said, but you've got a son and you'll have grandchildren. Don't you care that there won't be any water for the child to drink? Oh, you know. And that was it. She wouldn't do it. You know, so people find doing things difficult.
Well, it is. I mean, it is hard. It's not an easy thing to do, and you can be intimidated and pressured and pushed. And you know, I guess this is why people come together in groups and form alliances and movements grow and build.
She's going to regret that.
A big full page. She showed me that. She brought it out. She put it on the page. She said, that is my property. And there was the ad from the...
But that would be so easy for her to do,
I
wouldn't it?
can't believe that she wouldn't do that. Anyway.
So there we are. So the question is, next one. So it's all about you being the catalyst, you being the change, and it really is thinking about, well, what do you want? And we won't go through that process again. But it really is, you know, sitting down, well, what do I really want to do? How do I want to do it? And what do I want out of it at the end of the day? Thank you. And, you know, if you're thinking something, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be somebody else thinking exactly the same thing. So, you know, it's important not to think that you're not alone, that there are a lot of other people out there with the same thoughts, same fears, same ambitions, same needs, same wants as you out there. It's just how you connect and how you then come together that's important. And there are so many opportunities in social media and connecting people. So, I really want to just stress again, the importance is that it's our nature, and we really have to feel ourselves coming back to a connection with it, because it's all about ourselves and how we manage our lives. And there are so much information about the benefits of us being in nature and participating in and with nature, as far as stress and a whole range of health benefits as far as that's concerned. Bringing our communities together, not isolating ourselves, not separating ourselves, but coming together. You know, you don't have to live in each other's pockets, but you have to be there to participate. People move into suburbs for certain reasons, certain values, certain conditions that are out there, and then when they get there, they often forget why they're there, and there's a whole range of issues go on. And the same is with business as well. You know, you're part of the business, you're working for the business, and your value set is important to you, and it's important to the business as well. And you have a choice, and you have decisions you can make. And it does come down to a balance. You know, there's a balance between the heart and the head. Next one. But it's, you know, life is not all about accuracy, analytics, and reasoning, and strategic numbers, and logic, and so on. You know, it's also about the freedom, the passion, the vividness of it all, and life as we want to lead it. And that's important as well. So it's getting that balance right. And, yep, next one. And we may not necessarily do all these things, but it's important that you know, we consider ourselves. You know, be the leader, blaze your own trail, follow your gut, follow your bliss, follow your dreams, question the rules, you know, do what you love, and be awesome. Next one.
Could we go back to the comment about the lady who didn't make put the campaign about her olive tree?
Yep.
And I was thinking about the spoken goes, the generational thing in a lot of ways, because a lot of the generations have been trained to follow directions. You know, do it.
She's my age, well, she's probably 5 years younger than me, and she's from Denmark. Just a young one. And she's from Denmark. But she has lived in Australia about 20 years.
Yeah, I was just trying to toss forward the sort of the energy patterns that we live, and a lot of generations have lived. And there is a drive for change. There's coming from the young and up. And good on them. Fantastic. Thank you very much. But there is that, you know...
It's a don't rock the boat attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's just part of that. It's the energy pattern that we grew up in.
Yep.
You can't blame anyone for it.
No, I'm not. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe she needs a hand. Maybe I should go out and say,
That was my first thought was,
Oh,
did you offer to do it for her? Like, I mean, I don't know how well you know her, but just the idea of leadership strikes me as something as an individual, it can be very overwhelming very quickly. As a young person, as an older person, as any person. But you know, the power of groups, and you know, in that situation, I'm sure this woman probably thought, oh no, I couldn't speak up.
She knew how wrong it was when she brought the ad out and showed her the books, and look what they've done, and look what they've said, and that's my property, and I used to do this, and
But the power of encouragement or leadership could be...
Or as a conservative person too, you know, and this is what the coal seam gas has done, is what a lot of conservative people go, oh really, should I be sort of mixing with those greens or those radicals? And I've heard people, a farmer a woman at a farmer speedway. It was a whole journey to sort of say, well, you know, we've got to work together.
That's what Dana Lyons was saying last week, wasn't he, about the farmer and how the Minden people came down and were helping him, and they didn't want to go and be seen. Were you there? Didn't want to go and be seen with them, but in the end they actually saved his property.
Well, I think it's interesting looking at Tasmania at the present time and all the conflict that went on there 30 years ago with, you know, Lake Pedder, the Gordon River, and so on.
No dam.
And no dams and so on. And now it's you know, there's a coming together and a recognition that what happened was you know, potentially the right thing, and that people are recognising the balance that's out there now, and the importance of the conservation that's been going on.
No dam and don't give a damn. But there was a demonstration. That's what it is. You know, and eventually, people have some threshold. That lady obviously has a very high threshold before it impinges so much on her life that she'd be forced to act, because she's been trained to, coming from a well-ordered society in Denmark, you expect the government and the bureaucracy to do things the right way for you, and when they don't, you know, it takes a lot to get people out of the streets. Whereas in Egypt, where they're not used to having the government and, you know, the bureaucracy do things for them, they get out on the streets very easily, as we've noticed. And that's the right, because we live in a country where we assume people are going to do the right thing, and when they don't, it takes a lot for us to get to that level. They wait a minute, and I think that's unfortunately where she's. But we have to kind of show them that they can't afford to do that, especially with what's happening with our natural environment. Because by the time they get to that stage, it might be too late to actually be able to do something about it.
But you know, there was a demonstration for coal seam gas, I don't know, a few months back, and the Country Women's Association were actually marching. And they said it was the first time the Country Women's Association had ever demonstrated.
Exactly my point.
There were
What's so bad that even they got out.
You know, there were farmers, there were all sorts of people that don't normally go on a demonstration in Macquarie Street. But it's just really interesting how the whole coal seam gas issue, and that came up at the Climate Summit again. The Lock the Gate movement has been all through farmers. Basically getting farmers to say, well, lock the gate, don't let them in.
Yeah.
But I think that's been more successful in Queensland so far than it has in New South Wales. But it's starting to happen here as well. So there's certainly a shift to the coal seam gas.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of passion.
Yeah.
A lot of passion.
Well, it's water, isn't it?
Well, that's right.
Life. Yeah.
And that's it. So thank you for your attention.